All right, so after findings later in the morning, we found out that the rabbit was trying to protect his nest and the skunk just wasn't perched, just chilling. The skunk was in the process of eating the rabbit's young. Later, what we discovered, I decided not to film, but it was the pieces of the rabbit, and then one of them was like still alive, and I just didn't think it was tasteful footage. And really, it makes that first set of footage dark. But you can see that there was no intentional harming of animals in the filming of that video. It's necessary to say that too, because I believe in animal rights too. But as you clearly saw in the video, it was just a case of nature against nature. I thought that they was genuinely at play, but I just like, well, why would the skunk is just sitting there. So what happened was the grass hadn't been cut in a while. The landscape company hadn't come in a while because of the heavy rains. So the grass was taller than usual, higher than usual. And the rabbit, not having a human mind, decides to set up shop right there, just build a whole bunker right there. And that rabbits traditionally, they build their nest in more enduring areas of overgrowth. The grass, it was cut maybe a few days after the rain. So this exposed it. There's a little hole in that section of acreage, just a small one. It wasn't a good spot on any level really for the rabbit, because across from it in the evergreen, there's about 8 to 10 hawks that regularly congregate. So that's what we witnessed, the execution. The symbology behind it is, again, a mirror of what's happening right now in this time. There's an attack on the babies, the little rabbits, the little fertile ones, the young ones that's growing, the new generation. There's an attack on them by what? The nocturnal animal, the one that stinks, the one with the bad attitude, the skunk. And that same skunk was following me earlier that evening. It wouldn't spray or anything because, for reasons that I'll explain in another video, there's energetic contracts that you can make with just wild animals or any kind of creature for that matter, and not really be on the outs with them. Long and short of it is just energy. But either way, yes, R.I.P. to the little bunnies. And so the rabbit was just, it could do nothing to phase the skunk, whatsoever, and it couldn't fight it. I guess he was, I don't know, he was trying to disturb it, bother it, but in either case, that's what that was. See, the rabbit is fertile, it can produce, right? This is what the scriptures talk about with the Egyptians versus the Israelites. The Egyptians was like, yo, they populating too fast, man, they rabbits. That's the fastest offspring producing mammal in existence, the rabbit. So the most fertile part of society, the most impressionable, the generation with the most space to learn would be the young. But not all forms of overgrowth are permanent. Some situations, organizations, and people will only provide temporary shelter from the spirits that hunt at night, the creatures that hunt at night, the darkness that hunts within, which is representing the skunk. It was appalling because skunks have the ability to kill dogs up to the pit bull level. A skunk is very fierce, if it has to be. So it was undisturbed by the rabbit, and the rabbit was huge. The rabbit was huge. The rabbit was like the size of a kitten. That's big for a rabbit. But it couldn't face the skunk. So what am I saying? Essentially, make sure that you don't consider yourself secure in what might be just a temporary overgrowth. So let's say you have a particular kind of work or service you offer that might have variety in it. So people are like, man, we like that one. And you try to base your whole brand or your whole product line on just reproducing that one thing again. This can work up to an extent, but if you don't expand, then you will end up building your nest on flat land. It just looked like it was marsh. It looked like it was a forest, but that was grass to be cut, versus getting a real foxhole that's up under a tree or beside a mountain crag. This is where the scriptures say that a rabbit is to inhabit. It says in the scriptures, the rabbits, the conies inhabit the rocks. They exist among the rocky crags. I think it says in either Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, one of them. But this rabbit was nowhere near the mountain. The mountain is maybe 2.5 miles from where I am. There's a mountain, a big mountain. But where we were is too far away from the mountain for the rabbit to really have official habitation. So I don't know if it was pushed out of a foxhole that might have existed under some remaining evergreens, because again, maybe the hawks weren't always there, and that changes the complexion of a foxhole too, because hawks, they'll hunt up the rabbits and squirrels. So it was probably in the middle of trying to migrate. But trying to migrate and populate simultaneously is a different thing. You saw what happened with the actual tribe of Israel. A lot of them was getting picked off by all kinds of things during their journeys toward the promised land. And eventually it was only a few rabbits that made it across. There was only a few. The skunks were all over them, and nobody could stop it. Nobody stopped it, right? I know in the video I didn't stop it. And according to the animals, I'm the overseer in the scenario because I'm watching it through 2 sets of lenses, not just with my naked eye, but also with a device that contains all of their dimensions and reality in it. So if I'm either the skunk or the rabbit, you're looking at God on the 4th and 5th level, from the perspective of the skunk and the rabbit, perhaps, them being animals with animals understanding, etc. So let that be a lesson, and know that there's nothing that exists that does not have a lesson in it. And this makes life an infinite classroom. Super T Sigma, Sigma programming. Continue to stay motivated and self-regulated. Peace.